I think we're just going to go ahead and go. This will give us an opportunity to ask a lot of questions too, if you would like. To give you a little background about myself, my name is Quicksell. These two young ladies know me because I've worked with them on and off. I've been in the promotional products and the print side of the business for probably 35, 36 years now. My dad used to be a senior buyer for McGraw Hill, so I have a big background in that. I worked for a packaging manufacturing plant for multiple years, did design work with packaging and things like that. So I kind of gravitated into this business. And it is interesting, you know, I saw the title or the theme, the overall theme of technology and innovation. And I just know in that 35 years that I've been in the business, that the way it's grown has been exponential. It's been crazy. And you know, from the point of, I can remember when I first got started, and I always wanted to use packaging with what we had done. And what was interesting is that in the past, you know, you have to buy 3,000, 5,000 pieces. But now technology and digital printing warrant the fact that you can actually get one piece custom done, four-color process, which I think is amazing. So anyway, what we're going to talk a little bit about today is, let me turn this on. We're going to talk about how to uncover, you know, we're going to talk about creative marketing, the things that really matter. How do we get people excited? Most of the marketing that we do nowadays, in my opinion, the things that, as from a consultant level, because I consult now in this industry, I see people that say, this is my marketing, and there's a lot of disconnect. The website, the social media, they don't match. The messages that they're putting out are different. You know, they'll say, you know, I'm a creative marketer and things like that, but yet everything that they do is stale and I would say subpar in many cases. So this is a way that I've kind of developed this in working with folks on how to kind of like bring this all full circle. I'm a big fan of vertical markets and horizontal markets. I don't believe that the one size fits all is a good platform. I don't think that, you know, just anybody that comes down the road, and I jokingly say they can fog a mirror and write a check, that's my client. I don't believe that at all. I think that it's important to be very focused. So we're going to talk a little bit about segmentation and classification, different types of marketing solutions, and then I have several case histories that I'd like to share with you and see how it all ties together. What we've done is we've managed to take the mundane, and I look at like handing somebody a pen or a ruler or something like that, or a piece of collateral material. How do we meld those together? How do we meld all the different products and the packaging capabilities and the print capabilities, and how do we orchestrate that's something that engages a client and resonates with that audience to a very large degree? The thing that's going to make somebody want to pick up the phone and call you, pretty much. And I think what happens is that when we get off track with that, when we're all of a sudden trying to be everything to everybody, pretty soon what happens, I find, is profits erode dramatically, and you just become one of what I call the 97%ers in the industry that are just average. So how do we own a category? How do we own a vertical market so that our name goes viral in that space? I think it's very important. So we'll share some of those case history as well. As I mentioned, we send a lot of mixed messages. You know, we send out catalogs, we send out brochures. Some of them are fancy, some of them have color, you know, some of them have special printing techniques and things of that nature. But what happens is, I think most of the people that I talk to, their number one differentiator is we have phenomenal customer service. And I jokingly say, that's like saying, what's unique about your house? And we have windows and toilets. I mean, it's important that you obviously you have to have exceptional customer service to earn that business every day. But the reality is it has to go beyond that. You know, I hear all the time, you know, people get tired about being beat up about price all the time. And it's tough. It's tough for people in the print business. It's tough for people on the promotional side. It's tough. But it's up to us, I think, to elevate that game to such a point where price becomes somewhat of a non-issue. You know, you have to be able to bring things to the table that are different. Now, I know these two ladies are. Gentlemen, you sell promo products in your business, in your space? One of the things that I would encourage you to do, if you haven't done it already, is PPAI, who is the parent International Trade Association. They have a whole series on product safety. And they have, right now, it's free. You can take this product safety courses, and there's 4 of them. It's 4 hours. And after you take those, successfully take them, and fill out the paperwork in terms of I took the course and whatnot, they give you an indication that you can put in your business, on your business card, your website, your letterhead, that says, I am product safety aware. Why is this important? The vast majority of screen printers, in the instance in this business, have zero idea of the magnitude of the issues that surround, for instance, product safety as it relates to youth. Youth decorating T-shirts, for instance.
I was just telling you about that a few minutes ago.
Yep. Prime example. It's not some arbitrary thing. This is a federal law that every youth T-shirt has to have a printed tracking label on the product. It can't be a hang tag. It can't be a punched-in hang tag. It has to be permanently affixed. It can be within the design. It can be printed somewhere else on the shirt. But it has to be on there somewhere. And most people, you talk to most distributors, most decorators, and they go, oh, you really don't have to do that. That's a federal law. And it's important that you know that. Here's another one that is a real shocker. 2 things. One, when you accept blank goods from a wholesaler, you now become, according to the federal government, you become the manufacturer of record on that product. Because you're taking their product and you're altering it. You would think that the decorator would be considered that, but no, you're subcontracting that out, so you're the manufacturer of record. So there's things that you have to keep in mind. One last thing that I thought was amazing is that power banks, for instance, you cannot ship power banks overnight more than 3 in a box. And the box has to be marked hazardous material and all the surrounding paperwork. Otherwise, that could be a fine if you get caught doing that. So that to me, when I look at what's the differentiator, and we've had people that I work with, like iPROMOTEu, they'll say, well, this client needs to FedEx this stuff. I said, you need to tell these folks, you can't do that. And I've had clients of mine that have actually rejected orders for that. They said, we're not going to take that order on specifically because I'm not going to jeopardize your brand and I'm not going to jeopardize mine. So when we look at these things, what makes us different and unique? What makes people want to say, you know what, you saved me on that one? These type of things are important. So I really encourage you to take those courses. PPAI.org, you can download those courses and take them, I believe, for free. Okay? So I think what happens here, we talk about significant point of difference. I love this quote by Coco Chanel. In order to be irreplaceable, one must be different. And that a lot of times we feel that we're different, but you know what? The reality is when we really dig down and analyze and compare, are we really different? I mean, look at your website. How often do you take and compare or look at your competitors' websites? If you really look at it, I would say 97% of the websites are all the same. Different color, maybe a little bit of different functionality within the website, but they're all pretty much the same. So now put yourself in the buyer's shoes. The buyer looks at that and how the buyer becomes totally in control of everything. So we have to be careful of these mixed messages. I love the fact that I love the innovative, creative side of this business. I think it's remarkable. And what I found is that very few people will do the creative, will really break it down because it takes time. And make no bones about it. I wasn't born one day and all of a sudden, boy, I have this creative bent that I know how to do all this. That's not the case. The reality is it took me a long time to train, to learn how to do it. But if a customer calls me and says, Cliff, I have a client of mine that's going to a trade show. I need some help on a product to give away. I couldn't even begin to tell you what to do. I couldn't begin to tell you, which product you should select for that. But if you want to drive the most traffic to that trade show, and not only the most traffic, but the right traffic to that trade show booth, I can help you with that. I mean, there's a lot of other people that can do it, but I think that's the mindset that we need to get into. So we have to kind of break the mold. The other thing, when we start talking about creative marketing, one of the things that is really critically important to end buyers is the ability to measure. You know, budgets, this isn't anything new, but for years now, budgets have become very, very stringent. You know, we need to make sure that we can justify the spend by showing what our return is. Not only return on investment, what we spend versus what we get, but they've even drilled down, there's a new, relatively new term called ROO, return on objective. So if we have an objective to bring the proper people and the buyers into our trade show booth, what do our marketing efforts cost? How many of those buyers did we get to come to that trade show booth? And then how many of those people, those qualified people did we bring there, did we convert? Now all of a sudden we're really seeing how that money can work for us. And I will tell you that the people that have done that, some of the people that I know, that I work with, they've had remarkable experiences with their customers. Because now the customer looks at individuals like this, that you're somebody I can't lose. You're invaluable. You're irreplaceable. Because not many people do that. So that's my whole goal here, is to try to get you to understand that we want to make sure our efforts are targeted and focused so that again, it's not a shotgun approach. Now, first of all, I want to just take a short period of time just to show you how I kind of take a step back and evaluate the clients, your client base. I don't know if any of you do that in the room right now, but being able to analyze your clients so that you can really target them properly. So when we talk about this, I'm a big believer in segmentation. Software program that I've had some say in doing from the segmentation standpoint. We've actually created this reporting in there where you can actually segment the clients by vertical market. Not only that, but you can classify those, and I'm going to delve into that in a minute, but you can classify them by top end, top tier, all the way down to the low tier, where you just really do a really thorough analytics and analyze what the customer does, so you can see what makes sense. More importantly than just the customer, but that channel. So if I look in there and I'm thinking about it, I had an individual that did this, ran the report, and she said to me, banking and finance is my number one. And I said, okay, well, let's look at it. Come to find out, her profitability was around 23%. When we really analyzed her clients, they were all like C and D level clients. And she says, that can't be. I said, numbers don't lie. Bottom line is that's what the report pulled. So you have to look at that. So the question is, do we put a lot of effort into that? Because I don't know that you do this, but I believe everybody should have a marketing budget. You have X number of dollars to spend, you have X number of clients to work with, and you have prospects. There's only 4 ways I see that you can grow your business. Organically with your existing customers, drilling down deeper. You have inactive customers that you would probably, we all have them. I've had them where I've just kind of neglected it, and they kind of go sideways. So you can do it that way. The third way is by new clients and prospects, and the fourth is by acquisition. So acquisition is a whole different beast by acquiring another company. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to analyze our current clients. The clients that I'm working with, where can I go deeper? The inactive clients that I have, how can I resuscitate those old clients? And the prospects, how am I going to, what vertical market do I want to tap, or which 3 do I want to tap so that I can become an expert in those fields? My name, my company name can go viral in that space. Now, the big disconnect is most people get, as one of my friends says, I look at those shiny objects. I contend that if you had 3 vertical markets that you were working very deeply, you would not have time to take any other business. You just would not have time to do it. And that's what happens. People sometimes get derailed with that because all of a sudden in the middle of something, I've got this project that I need your help on, and you think, well, maybe this business could grow over here on this side, but it takes you off course. And as soon as you get off course, everything seems to start failing. So basically, this is the old report that we used to run, but just to give you an idea, what we look at is sales, what your gross profit was, because I am a big proponent of gross profit. There's people in the print industry and the promo industry I think we are relegated oftentimes to the industry average of 32 to 34% gross profit, but I know people that are making 55 and 60% gross profit consistently, a lot, and I think it's just the way they go to business and the way they think, and they have a totally different mindset. So we look at this. I'm not a big fan. Look, I'm a big fan of sales, but profitable sales. Not all business is good business. And sometimes you have to be able to cut people loose, the people that are dragging you down. The one constant that everyone in this room has, that no one else has more of or less of, and that's 24 hours. How do you spend it? Who do you spend it with? How are you going to generate the maximum return for the time that you're investing? So we want to know things like number of orders, what your average gross profit is, because there may be ways that we can analyze and tweak this to do much better. I'll give you an example. I had a bonus structure and a commission structure for my salespeople. I would not, if you sold anything in my company under 35%, you got no commission at all. You had to talk to them. And I wanted to train those individuals to understand the right questions to ask. How do we dig a little deeper? If you're selling apparel, did you ask them about hang tagging or polybagging or any of the ancillary things that you can do as add-ons that can add significant profit? If you have, and they don't want it, that's fine. But you have to, you need to start asking those questions. And I think what people found is that they really appreciated that. I had salespeople that were working seriously at between 48 and 58% gross profit consistently. But it's because they did those little things that made a difference. So I'm a big fan of this. If you want anything that you see in this slide presentation, if you want the hard copy, just give me a business card or email me. My cards are right now on the table, and I'll be more than happy to email you these different things. Like I have a database or an Excel spreadsheet that you can fill in your own data, and you'll see some of the other things that I have in here that you're more than welcome to. All right? And when we get to the case histories, I have a thing called R&D. I know you two know what that means. But do you know what it means, R&D? Yes, sir. That's a very honest answer. Well, typically it means research and development, but I call it rip off and duplicate. So if you see something up here that you like, feel free to take and run with it, because I think that you'll find that some of the stuff is very exciting. Oops, don't know what I did there. Okay, so when we evaluate customers, we have a scale, A through F, H, I, and P. Now what that means is your top tier customers. Now what's interesting is this is going to be different for each individual. Each individual company is going to be different. I've talked to some folks and they say my top tier customer does $25,000, $30,000 a year, the average gross profit is 35%, etc. And we'll get into some of those other statistics. I have a complete sheet with a bunch of different characteristics for each of these levels. Again, happy to send it to you. But again, what we want to figure out here is how many of you have F clients on your account list? And if you have an F client on your account list, if they picked up the phone, would you take the call? Would you waste your time, your valuable time, on somebody that just doesn't fit the bill? And there are a lot of people that are willing to do that. And then what happens? It's the same drama over and over again. So I have a theory that when I bring on a new customer, I put them in an H category. And so when I can run that report, and I can say, okay, all these people that I have here under H category, they're new. They're either been in there they have to be in there about 120 days, so that I know, where do I place them? Do I put them as a B or a D or an E? Where do I place them? And I can now really start to evaluate that. I also have the inactive client set and also for prospects. So I can get a marketing snapshot from my existing database by running a report and saying, wow, each of these categories, this is where this one is really going strong and very high profitable. Now, if I want to go after new business, I want to look at what are those characteristics. Let's say I have 6 B people in the manufacturing sector. What are the similar characteristics about those companies? It could be size of the company, number of employees, length of time they've been in business, their profitability level. So I want to start looking at similar businesses in the manufacturing sector that emulate that group, because that's where I'm going to be getting my most profitability. Real quick, this is just an example, and this is why this can change. An A-listed client could be $10,000 to $15,000 a year. I think you need to be much more specific when you get into that. And then the profit margin. Now, people have said to me when they do this, they try to fit their customers into a box. If you say my ideal customer is somebody that's doing $25,000 plus a year at 50% GP, and you don't have any A customers. That's fine. But our goal is to see what can we do to move those people up constantly. So you get these F-listed customers. These are people that give you that one order every year or two, and they're just a flaming pain in the rear end. They pay late. They're always want to bid. There's always an issue. And you know what? They're difficult to work with. I look at it this way. I have the 24 hours in the day, and I'm an old guy. And I'm not going to be around a long time. Well, hopefully a lot longer, but who knows? But you know what? I want to spend it with people I enjoy working with, right? And not people that are going to be a problem. So the question begs itself, how many of you are willing to cut those people loose? And I mean really cut them loose. I had a friend of mine I was working with up in New Hampshire, and when she honestly looked at this list, her top customer did about $35,000 to $40,000 worth of business with her a year. She says, he's an F category client. And she fired him. $30,000, $40,000 is great, but you have to wait forever to get paid. And then there's always a hassle. It's taking you away from working the good business. And it's interesting, when that one door shut, I bet you 10 open for her. Now, I'll give you a good example of that. I fired my father when I had my company. My dad used to work for McGraw-Hill, as I mentioned, and he used to buy quite a bit of stuff for me. And I'd say, Dad, I give you a bill for $30,000, and you take 90 days to pay it. I said, my terms are net 15. I give you 30, 45, but you take 90 days to pay it. And you take a 2% discount that I don't even offer. He goes, okay, you just don't understand business. I said, okay, well, explain it to me. I do $100 million in sales. I take 2% off of every order. Only 50% of the people bill me back. So my company's net bottom line $1 million. Bill me back, I'll pay it. So I billed him back the 2% off the $30,000 invoice. He took 90 days to pay that and took 2% off of that. Done. Love you. Now, Thanksgiving was a little bit miserable for a couple of years, but he said, you're not going to let me go. I said, Dad, I'm serious. I can't work like this. And I cut my father loose. Now, that's a true story. God rest your soul, Pop, but we had a lot of fun with that one. But again, you get to the point where now all of a sudden I can focus on customers that appreciate my value. The things that I'm bringing to the table, the fact that I will bend over backwards to do anything and everything, the good customer service. But there's a price to be paid for that. I'm not knick-knack-knack. I'm not some dickle-dock down the street just doing things for grins. This is how I feed my family. So I think that when you start getting that mindset, things do change. Now, the whole purpose behind this is it gives you a different perspective about your customers. I don't have to reiterate this too much, but I think you get it. When you understand where you're getting the lion's share of your business, where you're getting the most profitability, and where that sector is, now we can start honing in on the areas that really make sense. And this is what I think really does make a huge, huge difference. So let me go through a few of these creative case histories for you, and I think that you'll see how this all ties together. Okay, now, one of the things, I don't expect you to read this, it's just up here for me for a cue, but there's some things that you just need to stay away from. You just have to be mindful of. No matter how cheeky you think it is, no matter how cute you think the marketing is, you need to be careful. Here's an example. There was a company in Germany that created this marketing piece. This was connected to, as you can see, it looks like a pack of dynamite, and it was taped to a hard drive, and it was sent to different companies saying, and this company was somebody that protected data breaches. And you know what? If you're not careful, your data could be subject to being blown up. And it said, "Are you next?" They sent this out, and an embassy had to be cleared. 200 people had to be evacuated from a couple of other different businesses. And the nice thing was, the marketing director, when the police interviewed him, said, "I didn't think people were going to take me serious." I implore you to stay away from things like this. It doesn't work. But again, it's kind of like tongue-in-cheek, but I mean, this really happened. So here's a good example. This one, as a sales guy, I want to make a difference. When I was sending in marketing campaigns, and this was actually an outreach for new business. Now, I will say, if you look at this, and this is a small piece, if you look at this, what is the number one glaring problem with this? And I've got a thick skin, so what do you think?
Too much information.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you learn sometimes the hard way. And so nobody's going to really read all of this. So that's a problem. However, this piece, what I did is I was reading a book called A Whack on the Side of the Head by a guy named Roger Von Oak. And he talked about, in marketing, it's important that you compare two unlike objects. Like in this book, it was interesting. He says, if you compare a cat and a refrigerator, what comparisons can you bring to the table? Anybody want to share?
Milk.
Okay.
Cheese. That would be a rat.
That's okay.
They both run.
They both run. Very good. Now that's good. That's exactly right. What else? You know, this is what's interesting. As we get older, we get confined and restricted to saying, and I'm not going to say that because I'm going to look stupid, right? That was funny because my daughter at 11, she's 27 now, she asked me, "Dad, what do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, I speak." And she said, "People pay you to do that?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Really?" So we got into this subject about creative marketing and comparing to unlike objects. At 11 years old, she gave me 15 answers in about 10 seconds. They both have a tail. They come in different shapes, sizes, and colors. They both run. They both ingest food. They live. They die, which is true.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you're young, you don't let those type of things leak in there like, "I'm going to feel stupid." So I encourage you, when you're starting looking at brainstorming and doing creative, think a little bit. And that's what Von Oak said, and that was the whole spirit behind this piece. As I said, how can I compare myself to a Swiss Army knife, as goofy as that sounds? So what we did is we did each of the functions of that knife, we did a comparison and how it related to being a salesperson. Like the little key ring, we're handy and always accessible. We're there for you all the time. The toothpick, we pick and probe through all the products that are out there to bring you promotions that make you smile. Little blurbs like that. Now this piece, as you can see, I sent this out to 135 people. I had an 84% appointment rate with this. And was able to garner 27 new customers. So when you look at a piece like this that cost me around $6, so you're looking at probably $1,000, and I got 27 new customers. The average customer would spend between $8,000 and $10,000 a year with me, and I would have them roughly for about 6 years. If you do the math of that, $1,000 investment to get that kind of return is not that bad, not shabby at all. Now, what's interesting, I put this little story. I wrote an article about this one piece, and this just goes to show you what customers are really looking for. I had a guy who read the article. He called me. He said, "I read your article in Brilliant Results magazine. I was intrigued by the results and the campaign. I'd love you to do work for me." I said, "Well, I don't do this anymore. I mean, I don't sell anymore." I said, "My focus is just writing and whatnot." He goes, would you be interested to know that I have $1 million budget for this?" I was like, "Maybe I'll come out of retirement." Right? So I said, what do you do?" He goes, "I am the largest roof truss manufacturer in the nation." He goes, "And your people," like I'm Moses, "your people show up in my office What do? They try to sell me carpenter pencils and rulers and tape measures. Because the people that I'm marketing to, they have all those that they need. Because, but I want a creative touch point that I can reach out to the masses. I can have the people in the field reach out to their people so that we can stay connected. So here's a guy, he goes, I've never seen anything like this. You know, it exists, but there's no catalog that you'll find that, ever, because it's all in here. And what's interesting is each of you have the capacity to do this. I don't hold the holy grail on this stuff. But it's just thinking a little bit different. Having it resonate with the audience really makes a huge difference. Huge, huge difference. Now, this is just a prototype that I did, but this is the only piece I had, so I just wanted to show it to you. This is one of the first pieces that I had done, which was really interesting. I sent out, I got this pizza cutter. I'm walking through a trade show, and the guy says, Cliff, you do these creative pieces. What about pizza cutters? And I went, I don't get it. He goes, like you want a slice of your business? And I was like, okay. So I went back and I thought about it. Now this is where you now start to blend every other things in with this. And I look at this, we should be like the orchestra leader. We have all these tools available to us. The packaging, the print, the product, the creative theme, the photography, the methods of distribution. How do we go about doing these type of things? So what I did is I actually printed these in my screen print shop when I had it at the time. And on the outside of the box it said, sometimes a slice of, and you open it, creativity is all it takes, another hot creator from Quicksell. I personalized the handle for each of the recipients. I only did 12 of these pieces now. Everybody that saw this, with the company that I was working with at the time, they made comments like dumb, stupid, goofy, corny, ridiculous. Okay. It was interesting. Of the 12 people I sent this to, at least 7 of them made a comment that they had their own personalized pizza cutter. Now, we mailed this particular piece out, and we just did a blurb on the inside about what we do and how that's important to the customer. But I had these delivered one at a time, by a Domino's pizza delivery guy with pizza, right around noon. And I sent it in to them, and literally, out of the 12 people I sent it to, I followed up with a phone call. I got an appointment with every single one of those people, and they were all prospects. Now, I know other friends of mine in the industry have done this and had similar response rates just doing something like this. Now, some people aren't going to do it because why? It takes time, it takes effort. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of time. Will it work? Well, I ask people all the time, what are you doing now? Is that working? And if that's working, then fantastic. But if it isn't, you owe it to yourself to try things different. Now, look at the return here. It cost me $260. This is the thing that really wigs people out. The cost per contact, $21.75. Oh my God, you mean I'm going to spend that much money? I don't know. If a customer is going to spend with me, what did I say, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 a year? I'll pay you $21.75 every minute if you give me leads that are going to be able to buy at that level. I'm happy to do it. Well, most people get caught up in that. We want to do the small thing, the print thing, so we can do thousands. And the reality is most people can't handle thousands of customers. If you had 20 good customers that came in over the next 6 months, you would be, as they say in New Zealand, you'd be chock-a-block full. You'd be so full right now, you'd be hard to move, and I mean that sincerely. So again, when we start looking at this, on the rate of return, the cost per, what did it cost per, the objective was to get a new customer. It cost me $37.14 to get that new customer that would spend $6,000 to $10,000 with me a year for over a 6 to 10 year period. That's valuable. Now I can track that and see how that works. So that's why it's so important. Now, what's interesting is we did, how many of you like doing cold calls? No hands went up on that. Okay. I had the idea to do one where I took a cooler, a little soft side cooler, and we put a half a gallon of ice cream in it and packed it with dry ice. In the top cavity, we put 10 bowls, 10 napkins, and 10 spoons, and I created a luggage hang tag that says the ultimate cold call. And I did 18 of these. I would walk in the front desk, I would set it on the counter with reception, and I would say, because I knew who the person was, John in marketing may be expecting this. Would you make sure that he gets it, please? Okay, it's just a marketing piece. And we'd go upstairs, and literally 11 out of those 18 people called me before I got out of the parking lot. And we wound up getting business with probably half of those people. Again, we need to do things that resonate, engage, and are meaningful that people don't forget. You want to become, when your marketing needs to become unforgettable, because it's an extension of who you are. And again, I highly encourage it. This one we just recently did. This is great. This goes out to, this is targeted once again. If all of a sudden I know that, now, let me just digress. Anybody could use this. The reality is anybody could use it, but this is targeted specifically to medical type businesses. On the front of the box, looking for a shot of creativity, you open it up, let us highlight why we're different. We put a unique spin on marketing. So this is a little highlighter that looks like a hypodermic needle that's die cut inside the box. We do this where we printed about 500 of these. The only thing that brands this piece is this highlighter and the business card that's tipped in. So we can reduce the cost dramatically by doing this. Now, we negotiate with our factories, for instance, because this is a program that we're doing, we work with this. We can do 50-piece minimums on this, which is ultimately low. Normally, to buy this highlighter, you're doing, I think it's either 150 or 250 pieces, unless you want to pay a less than minimum. But we were able to negotiate it down because our suppliers know that we work well in that arena. One of my friends of mine, he targets, let me tell you how specific he gets. He targets university health centers. And he probably has about 20 of those around the country. University of Miami. And they buy things 30,000 at a time. 25,000 at a time. This is the piece that he used to target to get in the door with these folks. Just to break the ice. You know, the thing is, these are tools that will just open doors of opportunity for you over and over again. Now, we just built this new one, and I'm really excited. If, you know, I want to do things different and unique. Once I have an opportunity, once I made the initial call and I want to set up an appointment, I want to do a brainstorming session with a customer. So I don't even think you've seen these. This one says, are you ready for the cerebral storm? It's on the front of the card. You open the back of the card, rather, says it strikes often. When you open that card up, it has a three-dimensional brain with lightning bolts coming out of it, and it tells a story. You know, the story is really simple. Brainstorming and executing creative ideas, it's what we do. Let's work together on your marketing objectives and generate solutions that creatively keep your brand top of mind. This allows an individual to write a handwritten note, pop their business card in there. Folks, these are like, if you buy like 120 of these, they're like $4.80 a piece. They're completely custom. Completely custom, and that includes setups and everything. So imagine, you can do anything. We've done this one, we've done one where it pops open, it's a light bulb with a baseball cap on top of it, that basically says we keep our thinking caps on all the time for you with bright ideas. I mean, we've done so many different types like this. These are the things that resonate with clients. When you're starting to get 30, 40, in some cases 80, 90% response rates, you know that this is working. It does. It makes a huge, huge difference. This one was targeted to the legal community. On the back of this, this looks like a little bitty briefcase. In fact, here's a sample of it right here. And if there's a couple of samples up here, I have that one, I have this one, the shot of creativity. If you want, any of you want to take one of those, since there's a few of you here, you're welcome not to beat each other up, but welcome to take one of the samples. But on the inside of this box, it's really simple. On the outside, it says, the jury is out. We like using a lot of different, what they call idioms that kind of drive people, that people understand. It says, the jury is out, now you be the judge. We put a little gavel on the inside here. We have a business card tipped on the inside. And this basically tells a story. You know, in order for marketing to be remembered, it has to be creative, innovative, targeted, measurable, and memorable. And it says here, give me 15 minutes to state my case, and you be the judge. you open this little mini file folder, there's 3 creative case histories in here that tell a story again. Now when you start looking at this type of thing, when you look at something like this, $10. I've had people say to me, well, what makes you think people are going to buy gavels? You just don't get it. You should probably not even look to do it. So the reality is that resonates. Another great case history. Buddy of mine down in Art Silverman, down in Florida, he focuses on marketing directors in law firms that have a certain size. He sent this out to one gentleman. The guy called him up. He says, I've never seen anything like this before. He says, I'd love to work with you. He says, I have a $500,000 budget for this creative marketing. And what does he do? He targets other attorneys. They're an injury law firm down in Florida. They target other small law firms to send their larger cases there. And so they're working on pieces like this that will engage and that are going to be memorable for that customer too. It won't be the same thing. And guess what? All of these things that I'm showing you here, you will never, ever find them in a catalog. But you know what? They're all inside of you. I promise you. I'm not saying it's easy, but when you start thinking like this on a regular basis, folks, things change. Now, I want to take it to a different level. Now that I'm using it, you're using it, you'll be amazed at how many of your customers will say, like in Art's case, well, that's pretty amazing. I would love to be able to do things like that as well. So, we have a lot of great success, and I want to show you how what's important is the measurement aspect of this. The reason why we want to understand we can do small quantities and see if things work. Do we continue to do it? Is it a great piece? Do we just need to tweak it a little bit, or do we just dump it? What are the things that we need to do? And you can effectively budget. It has great fodder for case histories that you can share with your prospects and other customers. And again, it makes you different. And it really does drive your marketing. If all of you have a marketing budget, you want to make sure that you're optimizing that spend every year. Here's a rule of thumb that I use. Some people say, well, where did you get that? I really don't know. But for every dollar I spend, I have to have $25 in profitable business that comes from that. If I spend $1,000, I need to be able to justify $25,000 in return. And my idea of profitable business is anything over 40%. So now, because I do all of the back-end things, I know, like in that one case, I know what it costs me to get that new customer. I know what my average rate is for my customer spend per year. My A list, my B list, my E list. I know what that is. So I can actually attribute those dollars back to my budget to see how it works. And you know the crazy thing is, most people don't do this. Most people just go at it willy-nilly and just pray at the end of the year that there's a positive cash flow there and that I've made money. So, let's talk about this. Now there's a little, you've seen this before, this is a little hint. I use closeout merchandise a lot. I will call manufacturers and say, can you send me a list of all your closeout material? And they'll send it. And a lot of times I can build my marketing pieces around it. In this particular case, there was a young lady that I knew down in Florida. She was a podiatric surgeon. And she said, well, Cliff, what is it that you do? And I told her, and she goes, you sell that junk, don't you? Print and junk. And she called it trinkets and trash or something. And I said, I don't understand what's going on. She says, I've used that product and it doesn't work. I've given out at least 10,000 pens, 5,000 coffee mugs, and it just doesn't work. I said, so how are you using it? She says, well, I like going to offices and getting doctors and patients to refer other people to me. I said, so your thing is on new patient acquisition. She goes, yeah. I said, so how does that work? She goes, I go into somebody's office, I drop off a coffee mug, 5 pens in it, say, my name is Dr. So-and-so, and I'd love some referrals if you want to do it. I said, okay, and what happened? She goes, nothing. I said, what about your patients? She goes, nothing. I said, so it has your name on it, and you hand somebody a pen, You're not asking them to do anything. There's no call to action on the piece. I don't get it. And she's like, well, that's why your stuff doesn't work. I said, I tell you what, give me a budget and I'll prove you wrong. So I said to her, now this is really interesting. Most people don't ask enough questions, especially when you're working with your customer. And I said to her, where is the greatest source of referrals? What is your greatest source of referrals? And she said, patients and other doctors. I said, okay, patients, we're going to walk out of that because that's B2C. And you know what? That's, one person can only refer so many. A doctor can refer a ton of patients. So the question is, which type of doctor is your best source? And she said, why does that matter? I said, just bear with me. She goes, okay, pediatricians and endocrinologists, the two. Now, one works with what? Pediatricians work with kids, anywhere from birth to 18. Endocrinologists generally work with the elderly, neuropathy, pains in the feet, diabetes, and things like that. I said, of those two, which is best? She goes, they're about equal. Bingo. Let's pick one. So we're going to pick pediatricians. We're going to target pediatricians in your general area, and I want to know what kind of rate you would. Now, we got a little deeper than this. We knew that she was a little deficient. She was only at about 30% in most of her clinics, and she had 5. And so we wanted to boost that to at least 50% in each of those areas. So we went out, and I know that the way she approached things was probably the right way. So what we did is we went out and got a closeout teddy bear, right? Normally $7, we paid $2 for it. Got a t-shirt we put on the front that said such and such foot and ankle clinic. We got a beaded chain with a small Sharpie we put around the thing's neck. We put a hang tag in the ear with her logo on one side, and one other thing on the back, a message that really resonated. Now I want to ask you, if I'm referring my patient to another doctor, what's my pain point there? What's my challenge? If I'm referring my patient to you, what do you think my biggest concern would be?
You want to make sure they're taken care of.
Right. Because it's going to be a direct reflection on me. If I send them to you and all of a sudden they're a jerk, you're a jerk, they're going to come back to me and say, oh, nice guy, why did you send me there? Right? So we recognize that. So how do we address that and put it to ease? So on one side of that hang tag had the logo, on the other side it said, we know relinquishing your patient to us is risky. But I promise you, we will treat your kids just like they're our own. Right? Some verbiage to that effect. Now, kind of jumped too far ahead. You notice that what's on that bear's leg? Look in any catalog, look it up on anywhere in the industry. You will never find a mini cast to go on the bear. It doesn't exist. But the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just a little different, a little extra. That's real simple. So what I did is I went to a hobby shop and I said, do you have any casting material like that you make mountains out of and stuff like that for train sets? Oh yeah, it's over there. It's a real thin cut. I got a nice bottle of Pinot, and one Saturday afternoon I actually casted 50 bears in my kitchen. And you will never find that. So when she would drop off the bear, she had a stack of referral cards that were color-coded so she knew how she could measure those referrals that were coming in. So she made it simple for the referring doctor. And when she said, we'll treat your kids like they're our own, she actually said, you have my personal guarantee. She signed the cast and put her mobile number on the cast so that that office manager, that doctor could leave that on their desk. Her referrals in the first 6 months spiked over 46%. Now, she did everything that resonated with the audience, did the things that she was supposed to do, engaged them at a different level. And you're right. Handing somebody a coffee mug and crossing your fingers and praying that it's going to work, it's not going to work. Especially nowadays, you have to do things a little bit different. So again, now, she's a believer. Now she is a believer, but I would encourage you, think along those lines. We're working on projects right now that are talking about, let us help you take your business in a different direction. So we're doing things with compasses. I found one of our vendors, I said, do you have any closeouts on compasses? Yeah. They're normally like $2. I can give it to you for like 30 cents. I'll take 200 of them. I can make use of that kind of thing. So again, think about those things and how you can grow. I got one more great example. Here's a guy, well, he referred me to this company. This was a tennis club in Maryland. And I used to play tennis there. And I know one of their, what are anything that's club related, what are they looking to do constantly? Excuse me, exactly. They want new members. So I asked the question, how do you go about getting members here? Oh, we send out a brochure to 5,000 people within a 50-mile radius of the club. And, we do pretty well with that. So how many leads do you get from that? Well, we get 2%. So you get 100 leads from it. Right. How many do you close? About 2%. So you get 2 new members. So you spend $5,000 to get 2 new members. So it costs you $2,500 to get a new member. No. I said, look, I'm not, I know how to work a calculator, and 5,000 divided by 2 is 2,500, and that's the way it is. And she said, well, I don't understand. I said, so I'm curious. I said, there's a retirement home over there, and it's not just a retirement home. This is for invalid, elderly folks. Do those residents get a brochure? She says, well, if they're in the zip code, they get it. And I'm like, okay, so I don't see people out there on walkers and canes playing tennis. I just don't understand. Why would you do that? Every brochure you send out, every bit of postage you spend is worthless. So she says, well, what do you recommend? I said, let's do something that's targeted. Who is your, what are the demographics of this club? She said, well, between 30 and 60. I said, okay, is there a dollar volume that they have to make per year? She goes, yeah, the average person makes about 70 grand. And I'm looking over at this retirement home and I'm thinking, there's not a lot of those people over there. I said, but okay, fair enough. So what are some of the other characteristics? Male, female? She goes, it's a mixture. I said, okay. I said, anything else? She goes, what else is there? Do they play tennis? This is a tennis club. And she said, oh, so we plug in that data that she gave me. USTA, we bought a list within a 50-mile radius because we knew people weren't going to travel more than that. We had a list back of 304 people. People that were male, female, that fell within the 35 to 60-year-old rate, that made more than 70 grand a year, and that played tennis. The message resonates now. Follow me? We're targeting people that make sense, not everybody and their brother. That shotgun approach doesn't work. So we created this box. On the outside of the box, it said the Aspen Hill Club is serving up a great offer. And you open it up and it says, now the ball's in your court. So we did a tennis ball. This ball actually had their logo printed on it. And we put a plastic membership card in there, embossed with their name, their special ID number, and said, you are a Premier Tennis Club member for 1 week. Set up the week you want to come in, we want you to play. We want you to come in, become fully immersed in the club. We want you to experience our members, our tennis pros, the environment, the ambiance, all those things. We want you to come to a mixer. We want you to experience. Much like, my thought was, it's like, why do car dealerships say, take it home for the weekend? Why do they do that? Because they want you to be sitting at that traffic light and somebody say to you, John, nice car. What are you going to say? I got to take it back Monday? The more those that reinforce the fact that you look good in that car, and then you're smelling the inside of that car, and the feel, we want you to be immersed. And it's the same principle here. So now we sent this out to 304 people. They, fast forward the story, they got 75 new members out of this marketing campaign. And guess what? Same budget dollars. 5 grand. Same budget dollars, 75 new members. Now, she tried to justify the $2,500 spend for the 2 new people. She says, look, it costs $3,000 to join this club. And we keep a person on average of about 6 years. And the average spend is about 6 grand. Oh, excuse me, 3 grand. So over the 6-year period, that's 18 plus the 3. So we get a $21,000 return on everybody that we bring in. So we spent 5, so 21 times 2, we spent 5 to get 42 grand. I said, yeah, you spent 5 to get 75 people, and guess what doesn't change? They still pay $3,000 to join the club. You still keep them for an average of 6 years. They still pay $3,000. And if you do that math, that's $1.5 million in projected run rate. Excuse me, projected revenue. Same budget dollars. So now instead of it costing you $2,500, it costs you $52 to get a new member. Does that make sense? And she lost it. And when you start talking to the people in accounting and they see that, they go, let's do it again. Let's do it. Now, here's the thing I want you to see. If that is part of your vertical market, let's say it's health and wellness, we know that people are not going to travel more than 50 miles to go to a tennis club. You can take and replicate that campaign over and over and over. How many tennis clubs are there in this state? Hundreds, probably. Think about across the country. How many are there? Would this potentially work Europe? Would it possibly? It could. And the thing is, I think sometimes we think really small, but you can replicate that over so this idea can go viral. If we know that particular idea or concept, for whatever reason, could go viral and we know that it works, what can we, if golf clubs look for members, you could take that same piece. You could take the ball out, change the graphics to put like actually, what do they call that? What's that fake brand? Like a plastic, like AstroTurf in there. Cut the hole out, put a cup in there, put a ball in there, with the logo of the company in there. That could be used to drive, no pun intended, but that could be used to drive potential members to a golf club. Could you not add a sound chip to that? Well, when you open it up, you hear it go, rolling around the club. Yeah, so you add sound. We did a marketing piece that actually had an orange air freshener, orange stress ball. We actually put an orange air freshener inside it. So when you open the box, you get that subliminal smell. So you're engaging the senses. And you know what? What's crazy is all that, not so much this show for, but the promotional product show for, all that stuff just sits there. And instead of looking at it as individual things, how can you look at it like a chef? How do I orchestrate something like that? That's just a box with printing, a tennis ball, and a plastic card. But there's a system behind it. There's a theme behind it that kind of pulls all that together. These are the kind of things that I'm speaking about. These are the things that create a buzz where you can reel in customers like you can't believe. And you can become such a contribution to your customers, and in turn, hopefully, they'll buy into the same program. How many people do you think, I can tell you in the promo industry, that do this kind of thing? Maybe 2 to 3%. So you want to set yourself to be different, then you have to learn, you have to start doing things a little bit different. So, tying it all together, there's other support material that we can use, obviously brochures, postcards, other various methods of that. Blogs, I'm a big fan of that. Blogs, podcasting. These are all other things you can do from marketing support standpoint that really make a difference. I encourage you to look at I think like blogging and podcasting creates you as a thought leader. Doesn't have to be a platform to sell. I have a blog that I put out about 2 years ago. In 6 months, I had 80,000 followers on it, literally. And I don't sell a thing on it at all. I just push out content that's relevant and helpful to people to grow their business. It's the same thing that you can do with white papers and information like that. So I encourage you to consider those things as well. So, plan of action. We want to create a balanced approach to our marketing. I really do encourage you to look a little deeper with your current clients and really drill down there. And join groups that will help your network. There's so many of those that are out there. Here's a great place to network and get information. Again, I'm available if you ever want to give me a call or a bell and ask me some things. I'm glad to help you with that. But I do believe that if you're looking at really creating a good structure, having a marketing budget, being able to develop sound vertical markets that you can work in, and that doesn't mean get rid of all your customers. But that means really looking at your client base and say, okay, what 3 or 4 channels do I really want to focus on so I can grow that exponentially so that I become an expert. My name, my company, whatnot, becomes viral in that space. And the other 2 things, this is all about habits. People that I work with, it's just mind-boggling to me. They'll say for 3 weeks in a row, my God, this stuff works. And then they just stop. And 3 weeks later, I get a call, man, business is down. No, I did a blog recently. A buddy of mine, his name is Frank Carver. My son, God love him, I got just commissioned in the Navy about 3 weeks ago. And before he went in, we went on a 2-day dad thing. We went skydiving, we went fishing, we went shooting at the gun range, had some beers and whatnot. But we're out fishing, and it was my son and myself, the captain and the mate, on a 48-foot boat. And we get out in the middle of the bay, and Frank puts out 25 lines in the water. I'm like, dude, it's 2 of us. And the words that he resonated with me really make a lot of sense. As long as you have a line in the water, you're dangerous. What happens sometimes is we'll throw out 1 line and just wait. 25 lines in the water, much more opportunity. So I encourage you to look at the different things that you can do with your marketing. Have those different lines of opportunities out there in that space, and and I'm not trying to use this as a metaphor, but you'll be amazed at what you catch. And guess what? Some of them you got to throw back. But if you're fishing right, you can keep the vast majority of them. The last thing, too, is that was that whole thing about continuing to market yourself. I don't care how busy you get. I tell people, if you want to back off a little bit, you do a marketing campaign like this, and your target is, okay, I'm going to send out 5 of these a week and follow up on them. If you get busy, that's fine. Throw 1 more. Do another one the next week. If you can only drop it to 1, but do something. Do something. It's developing that habit that you're constantly doing something that is really going to make a huge difference down the road. So that said, this is my contact information. If you want to get in touch with me, that's fine. Again, I'm happy to send you any and all information. The contact information went out there is on the card as well. I would encourage you, before you go, I'm glad to answer any questions, but there's an evaluation form there. The PSTA would love to you fill that out, whether or not they want me back or not. But I had a great time. I enjoyed it. I'm glad that there's only 7 of you here, but my opinion is you're the 7 people that are supposed to be here, and I'm glad that you're here and that you made the effort. So that said, are there any questions before we...
Yeah, we're kind of a smaller envelope company and we have apparel. We have ideas all the time, promos, promotions, flyers we send out, and basically get no return.
Right.
It's going nowhere. And I think a lot of our problem is we're not getting it into the hands of the right people. Like whether we send out a flyer and a receptionist gets it, throws it in the trash, something like that. Who does this need to go to for it to be effective?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I think
we're not sending out boxes with tennis balls in them yet. You know
I like that. I like that word. Yeah.
We haven't done that yet.
Right.
But we're wheels are turning here. But who needs to have this in their hands for it to be effective?
Yeah, that varies. Like some of these pieces, and that's why it's important, both lateral and horizontal vertical markets, is that I may be doing something that's going to resonate with someone in HR.
Okay.
So it's incumbent upon me to get that name.
Right.
I want to, and dimensional pieces, believe it or not, receptionists do not want to throw out a package. If they get something in the mail that's of substance like that, generally that doesn't get deep sixed or thrown out. People know if it's a flyer, if it's a letter, if it's a brochure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we send out brochure after brochure. Let's change the color. Let's change the logo. Let's put it over here.
Does it work?
No.
Okay, so my point is you have nothing to lose but to give something like this a go.
Right.
Really, you really don't.
I concur, wheels are turning here.
Yeah. And see, I'm going to give you an example. Things that you can do because you sell apparel that can just add value. Packaging, whether it be folding and polybagging, belly bands, I don't know if you know what that is, but it's just you fold the shirt and it's just a piece of paper that wraps around it that can be printed in color. You can do anything. Look, it's ink on paper, you can do whatever you want with it.
Right.
You can do custom hang tags that go into the garment. You can, if somebody's buying a shirt and a baseball cap, to recommend, hey, would you like this package where we can roll it and then put a custom rubber band around the visor. The best way, if you want to really see it, look at retail. Look at what's going on in retail with packaging, and especially places like Hooters, there's one Bruce Willis owns with a couple of others. Planet Hollywood. Look at the way they're positioning things retail. You have the ability to do that.
Sure.
I mean, literally, when I would sell hang tags, I have a vendor that I've used. I can buy 100 hang tags for $13. I was charging my clients 90 cents for those. And we would tag them. In fact, I had my decorator, I worked out a deal with him, he was going to charge me 8 cents to tag each garment as it come off the dryer. I'm okay with that. I'm not touching it, and I'm winding up making 400% or 500% margin on that. Easy. I mean, I could give you example after example about how to, once you get the client, how to increase your profitability with add-ons. It's just absolutely amazing.
Right.
So I would encourage you to just try something different.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, what's it going to hurt?
It's not.
No, not at all. Anybody else? Any other questions? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great rest of the show.